So to get started for this one, we have our default cube here, and we're just going to change it into a roof shape. I'm assuming you already have yours, so if you already have your roof shape, you can go ahead and skip to where you've unwrapped it and everything if you've already UV unwrapped it. If you haven't, I'll go ahead and show you an easy way to UV unwrap stuff. So I'm going to go into edit mode, go to this top face. I'm just going to scale this down like this, grab it, move it on the Z down so we have more of a roof shape. I'll scale the whole thing up a little bit so it's a little bit bigger. Then I'll right click, set origin, origin to geometry. Then I'm going to position it at a 0, 0, 0 like this. Then I'll press Ctrl A and apply the rotation of the scale. Press Tab A, select all the faces, U, and Smart UV project. OK. I'll head over to the UV editing space here, like this. And as we can see, we have our UV unwrap just like that. Awesome. So then I'm going to take this guy right here. I'm going to rotate him 90 degrees. Oops, actually, we just want to select him individually. Let's do that here, rotate 90, just like this. Then I'm going to grab him and we will move him a little bit, but for now I'll go to this other side here, rotate him 90 degrees just like this. Sweet. Now if we select everything, we have this. And then I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to move him down here so that he's lined up with the other one. Like so. And then I'm going to take this guy and move him to where he's lined up here. Just like this. Awesome. You can also turn on clipping if you want to do that, but you can do whatever you want. Now that we have our roof shape here, I'll head over to the shading tab. Then I have my 3D viewport set up, and for the lighting, I'm just unchecking scene world and using the built-in 3D lighting Blender has. Then I'll go ahead and get my material, press new, call it roof shingles. I already just made it, but it's just this right here is what you'll get. Then you'll want to press Shift A and search for brick texture. Then to map this, make sure you have the Node Wrangler add-on installed. It'll give you some preferences. It's already built into Blender. You just have to check it in your preferences like this. It gives you some shortcuts and things like that. So then with this selected, we press Ctrl T. And if we Control Shift and left click him, we can see that not everything's mapping properly. And that's because we're not using our UV coordinates. So if we use our UV coordinates instead of the generated, we have everything lining up quite nicely like this. So then on this brick texture, we're going to be switching the mortar size pretty much to 0, so 0.001 like this. And then we're going to take the scale of this and we can change it to whatever we want. We can change it to like a 10 so that we have more of a roofed style thing. Obviously, depending on how big you want your shingles, you can change the scale to whatever the heck you want. Then this color 1, I'm going to bring to a pure white. And color 2, I'm going to bring it to a pure black. So we get some variation there. Then I'm going to change this offset here to a 0. If you want everything to be lined up perfectly, use 0 offset. If you want it to be sort of staggered like this, then you leave it at half. Depends on what you're going for. I'll actually leave it at half because I kind of like that better, but some roofs have it to where they're all perfectly lined up sort of, and they're not overlapping as much. But yeah, you can also make them brick style if you want, instead of being squares like this, by simply moving this up to like a 1. Then you have more brick style roof. But yeah, those are some really easy ways to adjust things. Then I'm going to press Shift A. I'm going to search for a bump node. So I want to affect these shingles into the bump. So I'll take this color down here to the height, then our normal into the normal. So if we Control Shift and left click now, we can see that each individual shingle has a different height, and it's sort of making it look a lot more realistic and like it's been there for a little while. So then we're going to factor in some roughness and color. So I'll press Shift A, search for a noise texture. I'll put it up here, take this vector into here. Then I'm going to duplicate this noise texture, Control Shift D, like this. So we have 2 of them. Then I'll press Shift and hold right click, and it'll give us this extra guide to stay organized. So I'll Control Shift and left click on our noise texture to preview him. And I'm going to change his scale up to a 1000 because we want this to be super fine. That's a 100, all the way up to a 1000. The detail, I'm going to move up to a 14. And the roughness to a 0.9, just like this. Then I'll press Shift A. I'm going to search for a map range node. Place him after here so the factor goes into the value. Then I'm going to bring the from minimum value up to a 0.3 to bring the blacks closer in, and then from max to a 0.7 to bring those closer in as well. Nice. This is going to be the base roughness. Then we have those little shiny spots you see sort of glinting on top of the roof shingles, and that's what this one's for. So on this guy, we're going to change the scale up to 1000 as well, the detail to a 14, and then the roughness we're going to put to a 0 actually on this one. So if we preview him, this is what we have right now. Then I'll press Shift A. I'm going to search for a map node, place him right here, factor to value. I'm going to change the function to greater than, which is going to give us this. And I'm going to change the threshold all the way down to a 0.2, just like this, so that we have little splotchy spots that are sort of glinting like that. Nice. Then I'm going to add these together, or multiply them together, I should say. So Shift A, search for mix RGB, take the values in the color 2 and color 1 respectively, then take the factor to a 1, change the blending mode here to multiply, and then Control Shift N left click. Now we have our base roughness map. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab these guys and move them a little bit to the left to give them some space here. So then I'm going to take this guy and move him into another mix node. So Shift A, search for mix RGB, because we don't want the in-between to be very glinty at all. So we're going to take this color into color 1, and then we'll take the factor from this brick into the factor of this mix RGB. So if we Control Shift and left click, we can see that it's sort of looking the same right now, but if I switch this to something like a red, you can see this is what the in-between is, and we want that to be perfectly rough. So I'm going to switch the saturation and the hue back to a 0 and the value to a 1, just so that we have a perfectly rough in-between that's not shiny at all. Just how we want. Then we'll plug this guy into a map range node so that we can further adjust the roughness if we feel like it at some point. We'll plug this color into the value, Control Shift to left click to preview. It will be the exact same currently, but we can pick our minimum value, which is that we want to be a 0 for now, and then the max we want to be a 1. So I'll take this result and plug them into the roughness. And if we Control Shift and left click now, we can sort of see roughness happening, but not really because it's a pure white. So if I bring this darker, we can now see that we have some roughness here and different levels of light bouncing off in a cool way. So something else that we want to do with this is factored into our bump a little bit. So I'm going to press Shift A. I'm going to search for a bump node like this. I'll place it after the first one. Then I'm going to take our color from the multiply node up here into our height. And currently it's going to be way too strong. So we need to switch it all the way down to like a 0.05, like that. And now we have some slight bump and the roughness being affected in the same way, which is pretty cool. Now to be able to see all this a little bit better, we need to be affecting our color. To do that, we're going to use this multiply node again. I'll press Shift A, search for 2 mix RGBs, because we're going to have 2 different colors and we'll be able to change the factor between them respectively. This is going to be our factor for them. So then this color 1 up here, we're going to change to a hex value of 13121D. Again, that is a 13121D. There we go. I couldn't type for a second. I'll Control Shift and left click to preview them. This color 2 is going to be a 353445, and that is a 353445, just like that. Then the second mix node, we'll change color 1 to a 585872, and that is a 5858A72, just like that. And color 2 is going to be a 4B5564, and that is a 4B5564, just like that. Nice. So then we're going to mix these together. So it's just Shift A. I'll search for a mix RGB node. And we'll take this color into color 1, this color into color 2. Preview him with Control Shift and left click. And for the factor on this guy, I'm just going to take our color from the brick texture into the factor so that it gives everything sort of a random color. And if we want to have more of a solid base, we don't want a thing to be varying in color, we can hit Shift A. We can search for a map range node, place that in between these two like this. Then on this guy, we can change the 2 min and 2 max values and bring them closer together. Like we can bring this up to like a 0.1 and then bring this into like a 0.8, and it sort of lowers the contrast between them. And the closer we get, the more solid we get. But I'm just gonna leave it at like a 0.2 and a 0.8 for now. So then after this, we can press Shift A and search for a hue saturation node after this guy. Now I can press Control Shift and left click on him, and we can change the hue to like a 0.85. We can get some oranges, and we can change the color now really easily like this. Awesome. I'll just leave it on a 0.5 and a base values for now. So 1 and 1, just like this. Then I'll plug the color into the base color. So now if we Control Shift and left click our preview here, we have this guy. And with that said, this is the finished roof shingle material. You can add and displace things in different ways if you want to. Like I said, remember the offset trick. You can make it a 0, make it a 1, change the color, the hue, stuff like that. And you can change the roughness values right here. But yeah, that is the finished material. Hopefully you've enjoyed and can use this in some of your renders. I'll see you all in the next one.